boys and girls, it's Miss Michelle. We are back today working on dividing unit fractions and whole numbers. Today our focus is going to be dividing the unit fraction by whole numbers. We have worked on this prior to yesterday's lesson. We worked on dividing unit fractions by whole numbers using visual models and number lines. So today should be a good refresher for you. So at the top of page 402, we have our essential question: how can you model dividing a unit fraction by a whole number? And hopefully you will see that you can use models, number lines. You can even use a multiplication sentence. All right, so we're going to have 3 different ways we could do this. Let's start with the solve and share at the top of page 401. So yesterday, the cooking club made a pan of lasagna. They left half of the pan of lasagna for 4 members of the photography club to share equally. We want to know what fraction of the pan of lasagna did each photography club member get. So here's our pan. So we're going to divide what's left among 4 members of the club. So we need to divide this pizza into 4 equal parts. Now, if we divide the lasagna into 4 equal parts, we need to go ahead and divide the other half into 4 equal parts, because what we're asked is what fraction of the original pan of lasagna did each member get. So what I see now is that I have 1 out of 8 equal parts. So 1 member each would get these 4 pieces, and each piece would be 1/8 of the original pan of lasagna. If I wanted to write this as an equation, what I am doing is I am dividing 1/2 of a pan of lasagna. I'm splitting it between 4 members. So my division sentence is 1/2 divided by 4, and each person is getting 1/4 of a pan of lasagna. Okay? And again, I'm going to remind you, one of the great things about watching the instructional video is you can pause the video, take the time to write down and draw what you need to in your book. And also, if you don't understand something, you can rewind it and go back and listen again. You don't have that benefit in class. All right, let's go to page 402. I'm going to play the video that Pearson has with this. It's a good video to take us through using an area model and a number line for another example where we are dividing a unit fraction by a whole number.
How can you model dividing a unit fraction by a whole number? Let's look at a couple of different ways.
This cornbread can help show us some ways, and it's delicious too. Yum!
Half a pan of cornbread is left over. Anne, Beth, and Chuck are sharing the leftovers equally. What fraction of the original cornbread does each person get? Why do you need to divide to find the fraction of the cornbread that each person gets? You need to divide because Anne, Beth, and Chuck are sharing the leftover part equally. Find 1/2 divided by 3 to determine the fraction of the original cornbread that each person gets. One way to find 1/2 divided by 3 is to use a model. Divide 1/2 into 3 equal parts. Each part contains 1/6 of the whole. 1/2 divided by 3 equals 1/6. Each person gets 1/6 of the original cornbread. How does the diagram help you find the quotient? It shows the original cornbread and the half cornbread cut into 3 equal parts. And it shows how much of the original cornbread each person gets. Another way to find the answer is to use a number line. Shade 1/2 on the number line. Partition 1/2 into 3 equal parts. How does the number line show the half cornbread divided by 3? The number line is shaded from 0 to 1/2, which represents the half cornbread. The 1/2 is divided into 3 equal parts. Each part is 1/6. So 1/2 divided by 3 equals 1/6. Each person gets 1/6 of the cornbread. Why is 1/6 of the cornbread a reasonable answer? Each person gets 1/3 part of 1/2, so the answer has to be less than 1/2. Now you know how to model dividing a unit fraction by a whole number.
All right, so what we see is when we divide unit fractions by whole numbers, we're getting smaller unit fractions. So our answers are always going to be those unit fractions. So let's look at the convince me at the bottom of page 402. In the example above, how is dividing by 3 the same as multiplying by 1/3? And if we look at our examples above, both separate the model or the number line into 3 equal parts. Okay, so if you want to write that in your book, there we go. Both dividing by 3 and multiplying by 1/3 separate the model or the number line into 3 equal parts. All right, let's move to the top of page 403. All right, the do you understand question. We're going to start there. So in the example at the top of page 402, suppose that 4 people were sharing half of the cornbread equally. What fraction of the original cornbread would each person get? Draw a picture or use objects to help. So we have half of a pan of cornbread. We're going to share it equally or split it among 4 people. So we want to know how much, and I can already tell you my answer is going to be a unit fraction. I can already tell you that because 1/2 divided into 4 equal parts is going to give me smaller unit fractions. So if I go up here and I divide my cornbread into 8 equal parts, I have 1/2. Sorry, it's 4 equal parts. I have 1/2 of the cornbread, so shade it lightly. I'm going to split it into 4. So I'm splitting the other half into 4 equal parts. So one of those parts is now 1 out of 8 parts of the original pan of cornbread. All right, question number 2. When you divide a unit fraction by a non-zero whole number that's greater than 1, will the quotient be greater than or less than the unit fraction? So let's just give an example. So if you take a unit fraction, so let's just take maybe 1/2, we divide it by a non-zero whole number greater than 1. I'll just write 2. Will my quotient be greater than or less than the unit fraction? And I hope you can answer that my answer is always going to be less than, because that unit fraction is being split into smaller unit fractions when we divide it into equal parts. All right, we have a picture already drawn that we can use to help us with problems 3 through 6. So I want to find the quotient of 1/4 divided by 2. So one of these parts would be this one right here I'm going to focus on. I'm going to break it into 4 equal parts. So don't forget, if I divide 1 into 4 equal parts, one of the fourths, all of the fourths have to be divided into those 4 equal parts. All right, so 1/4 divided into 2 equal parts. Oh my goodness, I just did a boo-boo. I'm not going to remake my video. I'm just going to erase. I'm sorry. I'm dividing 1/4 into 2 equal parts. So how about this? There we go. All right, so 1/4 divided into 2 equal parts. What I'm looking at, one of them would be now 1 out of 8 equal parts. All right. Now, I'm going to take 1/4 and divide it into 4 equal parts. So I've already divided each fourth into 2 equal parts. So now I can do this. So now each fourth is divided into 4 equal parts. Kind of like a window pane, isn't it? All right. And one of them would now be 1 out of how many equal parts? That's right. Now have 16 equal parts. All right, I don't have models for 5 and 6, so for number 5, I'm going to take 1/2. So I'm just going to use a circle model. And my 1/2, I'm going to divide it into 2 equal parts. So if I divide the half into 2 equal parts, I have to divide the other half into 2 equal parts. And now each of the parts is 1 out of 4 equal parts. All right, so my answer is reasonable because my quotient is smaller than my unit fraction dividend. Number 6, I'm going to take 1/2. And this time, I'm going to divide that half into 4 equal parts. So 2 equal parts would be right here. So now I need to break each one into 4 equal parts. So now, one of them would be 1 out of 8 parts. So 1/2 divided into 4 equal parts would give me 1/8. All right, so number 7 and 8, we're going to use the visual model and the number line, and we're going to divide 1/2 divided into 5 equal parts and 1/5 divided into 2. So we're going to go ahead. The 1/2, we've got the top shaded and the bottom not shaded to show me the half. So now I need to break it into 5 equal parts. So I'm going to need 4 vertical lines. Oops. I always have a hard time with these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like this. And now I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 equal parts, and we're going to be focused on one of them. So 1/2 divided into 5 equal parts tells me that each part is going to be 1/10 of the whole. All right. 1/5 divided by 2. Excuse me. I'm going to divide each of these fifths. Somebody's already broken my number line down for me. Each fifth is going to be broken into 2. So now I don't have the number line broken into fifths. My number line is broken into tenths. So I have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. I'm going to go ahead and number my number line just so I can look at it a minute. We know 10/10 is going to be the 1 whole. So 1/5, this part right here, divided into 2 equal parts. Here are the 2 equal parts we're focused on. One of them is 1/10. All right, and like the little girl helper says, partitioning pictures or objects can help when dividing fractions by a whole number. All right, you're going to work numbers 9 through 14. You can use a number line. You can use models. If you can do it mentally, now that you know how to use a multiplication sentence to solve, you can use that. And we'll come back and check your work. So go ahead and hit pause. All right, boys and girls. Here's the solution to problems 9 through 14. Checking for reasonableness, I want to make sure that each of my answers is less than the unit fraction that we started with. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to page 404, and we're going to look at a couple of the word problems that pertain to today's concept. We're going to start with problem number 16. Sue has half a gallon of milk to share evenly among 4 people. How much milk in gallons should each person receive? So she has half a gallon, and she's going to split it among 4 people. So what are we splitting equally? 1/2 gallon, and we're splitting it between 4 people. So that sets up my expression correctly, 1/2 divided by 4. So if I want to use a model, 1/2, and I'm going to break the half into 4 equal parts. So I'm going to break the other half into 4 equal parts. I now have 8 equal parts, and one of them would be 1/8. So each person would receive 1/8 of a gallon of milk. All right, let's look at number 17. Taryn says that 1/4 of a cereal bar is larger than 1/3 of a cereal bar. Is she correct? Explain. So is it true that 1/4 is larger than 1/3? And hopefully you know by now that when we compare the unit fractions, the larger the denominator, the smaller the equal parts. So this is not correct. 1/4 is actually less than 1/3. All right, think about it. 1 of 4 equal parts of an object is going to be less than 1 of 3 equal parts of that same object. So we're going to write that down. So 1 of 4 equal parts of an object is less than 1 of 3 equal parts of the same object. So if I wanted to draw something to look at that, if I use circle models, 1/4 would be this part, and then 1/3 would be more like this part of it. So we can see that 1/3 is going to be greater than the 1/4. All right, let's look at number 15. Vin, Corey, Alexa, and Joe equally shared 1/4 of a submarine sandwich. What fraction of the original sandwich did each friend get? Use the number line to help you find your answer. So we have Vin, Corey, Alexa, and Joe, 4 people, are sharing 1/4 of a submarine sandwich. So what's being shared equally? 1/4 of the sandwich. We're dividing it into 4 equal parts, and we want to know how much does each person get. So I'd like you to work on your number line and then come back and look at mine. So go ahead and pause your video a minute. All right. Here's my work. So I divided 1/4 into 4 equal parts, and then I divided the next fourth, and so on. All right, so what ended up happening once I got to 1 whole is that each part is 1/16. Guess we could have done, this is where 2/4 is. This is where 3/4 is. And this is where 4/4 is. 1 whole. Could have done that, right? All right, so each of these parts is 1/16. Once I broke each of the fourths into 4 equal parts, then I now have a number line that is broken into 16 equal parts, and each person is going to get 1/16 of that original sandwich. The assessment practice questions. Jamie cut a rope into thirds. He used 2 of the pieces to make a swing. He used equal lengths of the leftover rope on 4 picture frames. What fraction of the original rope did he use for each picture frame? So he cut a rope into thirds, and he used 2 of the pieces to make a swing. And we want to know what the leftover rope was, because he's going to then split that up to use picture frames. All right, so 1 whole rope would be 3/3 since we're working with 3. So I'm going to write 1 whole as 3/3. He used 2/3, so that's represented by subtraction. So we know that 2/3 from 3/3 is 1/3. So he has 1/3 of the rope left over to use on those 4 picture frames. So 1/3 of the rope left over is being split equally among 4 picture frames. Right, here's where I get the 4. And 1/3 divided by 4 would be 1/12. All right, does my answer make sense? Do I have a smaller unit fraction answer? And yes, I do. All right, number 21. 1/2 of an apple pie is left over for 5 family members to share equally. What fraction of the original pie will each member get? So we have half of a pie left over. It's being split equally among 5 family members. So 1/2 divided by 5. So hopefully by now you know that your answer is going to be 1/10. Each person is going to get 1/10 of the original pie. If you're still struggling with this, then use your models. You can draw this out or draw a number line. All right. So we have finished our lesson. Hopefully today you're going to be pretty confident with using either models or number lines or multiplication to divide unit fractions by whole numbers, and that using your number sense, you know that your answers are going to be smaller unit fractions. So you have a practice buddy to work on. Do your best, and I will see you tomorrow.